Hello, friends, benders and non-benders alike. Welcome to Braving the Elements, Nickelodeon's podcast about all things Avatarverse. I'm Janet Varney.
And I'm Dante Bosco. And Varney, we're deep into book 3 right now, and we've really had the chance to watch the characters, all these characters on their journeys, all these characters we know and love, some that we don't love as much, but we still know them. Talking about certain sisters.
Complicated. It's complicated.
It's complicated, but we can say they've all come a long way.
Absolutely. They have. Some of them have had like a complete shift in their sort of energy and motivations and whose side they're on.
Right.
And it is crazy to look back on Zuko at the beginning of book 1 and really think about how far he's come, even to the point of teaching and learning firebending alongside Aang.
He's always been a great firebender. He's at one moment.
Nobody's saying that he wasn't a great firebender.
He was doing a lot of intense firebending. He's a master.
Yes, he was.
He's always been a master.
Okay, I'm just saying yes, but maybe he's coming at it from a different perspective.
Yes, he kind of flipped it.
You know what I'm saying? They're on their own journey. They're developing their own skills, their approaches to fighting, their reasons for fighting. In fact, I feel like we should kind of take a look at, let's call it like the evolutions of the various characters and their bending.
All right, that sounds good. Why don't we?
No offense to our wonderful non-benders. We won't talk about that on a separate time.
Shout out to non-benders. Yeah. But how about we nerd out about this with a fellow Avatar fan who's just about nerding out about this as much as we are. How about we bring someone in?
I got the perfect person.
Let's go.
I got the perfect person, and I agree with you. We need some help. We wouldn't have it any other way. Please welcome our amazing guest. Antoine Vandelay is an esteemed Ava YouTuber, renowned for his insightful commentary on all things Avatar. With a repertoire spanning geek talks, live streams, and engaging versus battles, Antoine brings a wealth of expertise and passion to the Avatar The Last Airbender community.
Let's
Antoine,
go.
what's up, friend?
Antoine, welcome to the show.
Hello, my good Hotman.
Hotman. Great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. And we said it, we were even chatting with you when this season premiered of this very show. We've been wanting to have you on forever. I'm so glad it worked out. I feel like this is kind of the perfect episode because you're just going to lend us even more credibility as we continue our journey to become professors of the Avatarverse.
Yes, sir.
Because this is what you are known for. You break it down for people online and off. We were live chatting with you when, that's kind of what I was saying before. We were like live chatting with you when the first episode of the podcast dropped. You're up in it. You're in the Avatarverse, my friend. And you know these characters and you know bending. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
Hello. You're the man. You know what's up in the Avatarverse. Some of those, having versus conversations. I'm scared to even do that. So
I can't wait
about the Avatarverse.
I am myself, even
right.
I'm like, okay, like I like doing it, but some people get like super into it. And I'm like, oh, that's a little too much.
There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of passion in our community. Yeah. We love it. We respect it. We all should be nice to each other. Let me just point that out.
Exactly. And hey, I'm always willing to get another perspective.
Absolutely.
And I'm always willing to learn something and I'm open to it. So I welcome it. Yeah. But don't yell at me.
Exactly. And that's why we've been pretty good about steering clear of some of the more controversial stuff just because I hate people yelling at me.
I'll get into the controversial
but he'll wade into
Ozai
it a little
versus
bit
Iroh
more.
Talk to me about it.
Ozai versus Iroh.
Just to say it, it's Ozai, but okay.
Huh? We don't know.
It's Ozai. I'm sorry. He is Avatar Extras straight up says that he is the best bender, period.
Yeah. If it's canon, it's canon.
Before we get into some things, Antoine, let's start at the beginning with you. Like, how did you get into Avatar? Do you remember just your introduction to the whole Avatarverse?
I don't remember exactly when I started because, it was on Nickelodeon, obviously. My brother and I, we watched it as it was coming out. I know I didn't watch it like at the premiere. I know that for sure. It might have been somewhere in the middle of book 1 or book 2. But I do have a distinct memory of watching the finale and it being like, a huge, big thing. And then, you kind of feel that empty void after you've watched something like, very pivotal in your life and very huge. And you're like, what do I do with the rest of my life?
Totally.
Like the same thing you do with like your favorite movie, your favorite book. And you're like, okay, that's great. But now I feel very sad because it's like, it's gone,
Yes. But you don't have to do that because you're doing the same thing that we're doing, which is like, wait a minute, we can just keep talking about this forever.
Yeah, you just keep talking about
That's
it.
awesome.
I get that comment so often. People are like, how do you just keep talking about it when it's like a 20-year-old show? It's like, oh, well, so many things to talk about.
There is so many
Exactly.
things to talk about.
When you know it, you're like, every episode, you're like, well, let's see. What theme can we come at this episode from? We have our pick of like 10.
Right.
I thought about that. I actually thought about like, once we're done, like the good news is that we have Avatar Studios, and so we're going to have like content forever. But had that not been the
Right.
case and we got all the way through Korra, I genuinely had the thought the other day, like, I would start all over with book 1 of Avatar. I would just talk about them all over again and be like, this time I noticed this.
Right.
You know? It's
Well,
that
in
kind
life,
of show.
our life, we all keep going. Things we keep looking at it, and it keeps on reflecting back to us different times in our life. Different
Agree.
things, you know.
Agree. Do you have favorite characters or episodes, Antoine?
Favorite character is definitely going to be Zuko. And by the way, I
Hey,
agree with
what's
up?
Dante. He was a good bender already from the start.
I
He
wasn't
defeated
saying
Zhao.
he wasn't, y'all.
He defeated Zhao. I mean, with the help of the Iroh.
He
you know, to break
defeated
his root,
Zhao.
you know.
He's a teenager, but,
Zhao
he's
is up
powerful.
there, you
He's
know.
gifted. He's gifted.
He's gifted.
Yeah, he's very
not
gifted.
just Azula.
Azula level,
Very
But
gifted.
she's
Yeah, not Azula
a
level. Yeah,
psychopath.
it wasn't until
But
like
she's
book
a
3 where he
psychopath.
got there.
but
you
she's
know.
a psychopath.
And then favorite episodes would probably be the beach and
Yes.
or the headband. For
Yeah.
different
The
reasons, obviously.
headband.
Yeah, headbands. It gets underrated. I feel like it gets a little.
It's a
get
little
overrated.
underrated. Someone
Or
just came into
underrated.
my line recently wearing the headband. My line of
yeah,
telephone,
for real?
I was like, the headband.
Love it.
It's like,
There it
yes,
is.
sir.
And then
Yeah.
was there a little bit of an arrow poking out underneath it?
No, he would just have the. He just
Ooh,
had
that's
the.
good.
He just had the
I know you
headband
just have like a you don't
on.
even have to draw the whole thing. You just draw like a
Yep.
half C, right?
And
Yep.
the
just have it
headband
come out.
Love
was
that.
a belt, right?
Yes. Yes, it
yeah,
was.
pretty much. I think so. Yeah.
a belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the great thing about the headband, though, is that it really shows what I feel is Aang's true superpower, which isn't, being a demigod. It's about him being able to bring people together, through his, happy-go-lucky nature.
Yes.
He was able to show the Fire Nation, like, this is what you guys used to be about. You guys used to be the best dancers, like, in the world. And now you guys are very strict and, you're in this, like, propaganda, phase.
And he throws a club.
So he, like,
And
showed them
throws
again.
a club.
He has a
Yeah,
little
and he
dance
throws a
club.
club,
Yeah.
you know,
He's a
makes
club
them all, like,
promoter.
oh,
His
fun,
yeah.
it's
superpower,
fun to
Aang's
dance.
superpower
He's a
is he's a club
club promoter.
promoter.
He's a club promoter, exactly.
I mean, you said it when we first said hello. That is the episode that, we've heard Flamio Hotman, but we have not truly, like, lavishingly just, like, steeped ourselves in the tea of Flamio Hotman until this episode. This is really the episode where you get to see Aang go, Hotman, Hotman, Hotman,
Yeah.
Hotman,
Yeah.
which is, like,
Hotman.
one of my favorite moments of the entire series. It's so good. So good. And then the other one was the beach. Talk to us about the beach.
Which great.
Oh, yeah.
For the
I mean,
win.
the beach is like that one almost goes without saying because I know it's a favorite for many among the fandom. But it's just like, and then, people consider it like a filler episode. And then people say that a lot about
That's
book
so
3, but actually,
insane.
that's my favorite book. Is
They
because
say a lot
it is-
about what about book 3? They say a lot about
that's
what?
a filler that has a lot of
The
filler
book is
episodes,
a-
but
the
like
book
that
is
has
a
a
filler?
bad connotation.
They try
No,
to say
like-
book 3 is a filler book? The book of fire?
I hope you'll be able to continue
dare
and not
they?
storm
Is
away.
this a running joke or something?
What the?
He's very defensive about the Fire Nation. He's,
No, but
no
that's the
one's
thing,
saying
people-
it's you.
people-
No one's saying it's you that says that.
It's a
He's just
bad
saying people are
connotation.
saying
The
that it's
book
filler.
of fire.
I don't know how you can love
Is
these. I don't know how
filler.
you can love the show and really think any of it is filler.
I know,
but like
it's
that's
true.
just me.
There's something.
That's
There's
just
something
me.
in every
well, the
episode.
idea of
There's
filler
something in
it came
every-
from like anime manga, where they had to catch up to but there was no,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
no manga for this. So the idea of filler is that it's just that it's a episode that does not forward the plot.
Right.
But I like those a lot because you get to actually identify with the characters. You get to see what they go through on day to day.
And
You see
and
like Azula for
hello-
the first time.
Character-driven
Exactly. The characters
stories is
the
that's
story.
the plot.
That is the plot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a character-driven.
You have to have
project.
those experiences, or you're not, or the next big
Or you're not
plot
gonna care.
move. Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to care.
You're not going to
Exactly.
care, and the character isn't
Exactly.
going to have grown to
Exactly.
handle it the way you want them to handle it. You got to let them have that.
Exactly.
Those
I
moments
agree
to
with you.
grow.
That being
We're all
said,
on the
in
same page.
Naruto has a few filler episodes.
he said it. He said it.
He said
Antoine was
it.
agreeing with me too.
Ah.
But Avatar filler is way better than I feel like Naruto filler, which sometimes is just like, why that happen?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because it's interesting what you say, and you're right. People do say that, but of all of the books, I don't know. In some ways, I feel like 3 feels like it has the least amount of filler because there's so much happening, and there's so and yes, they're rooted in a spot. Sometimes like the like we're on an adventure together episodes from the earlier
Right.
seasons.
That's not
I don't
necessarily.
even think of those as filler. But if someone wants to talk about the Great Divide, I understand why
I
people
love
are
the Great
saying that.
Divide. I love the Great
But I
Divide.
wouldn't
Well,
say it
another one,
about the beach.
Nightmares and Daydreams. That's another one that gets underrated a lot. The
Oh,
one where
that one's
Aang
so
is literally
good.
just
Great
having
one.
nightmares about like,
Yeah.
how am I gonna defeat Ozai
Yeah.
on the Day of Black Sun? Like that's one of my favorite episodes. Just seeing him
Agree.
like going through that.
Yes, agree.
But in some of these episodes, like the Nightmares episode and the Great Divide, the art that they're doing, switching up art in these episodes are
Yes.
always
Yeah.
the best because
Yeah, the anime ass thing in that
the
one.
anime they're giving odes to other animes throughout the whole thing,
Yep.
and there's
Yes.
and even Great Divide, they're playing with different art forms, in each of-
Absolutely.
including chibi, like the
Yeah.
beloved chibi that
Mhm.
everyone loves.
Yes.
Comes
Yep.
from the Great Divide. If they just made the Great Divide a little bit different at the end, instead of him lying, him actually knowing them back in the day, and people would have a whole different
Yeah.
attitude about that episode.
Yeah. Well, okay, so your favorite character is Zuko. Do you have another favorite character? Do you have like another character that you're just like, I
Another
keep rooting for this
favorite?
person?
Ooh.
Like maybe
see, actually, I
maybe
just
in the
go-
cut character, like someone that's not a part of the main gang.
That's a good
character.
question.
That not part of the main gang.
Mhm.
Oh yes, I do. Zhang Zhang.
Oh,
he
Zhang
gets
Zhang.
really underrated.
Is that the
Zhang Zhang
deserter?
gets-
That's the deserter, my friend.
That's the deserter.
That's
I
exactly
am.
right.
I am in pre med of my PhD.
You're doing great.
at Avatar.
You pulled that quick.
Just quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Zhang, no, you're so right.
Yeah, the
That's
second
such
you
a
said that,
great-
I was like, wait, who's the one who's undervalued? Sleeper? I'm like, oh yeah, Zhang Zhang, man. Like I really, really love that character, like a lot.
I do too. I would love to see more from him and his backstory and like
Mhm.
his struggles.
Yeah.
Because
He's another one who I consider to be like top 3 like firebenders. Like, like if you think about like his firewall and what he did,
Yeah.
it's like, and then what he was doing on the
Ooh, he's getting
at
into
the
he's getting into
finale,
bending.
you
He's
know.
getting into the bending.
Maybe what if he and Hama just like had a
Yeah.
had
Where's
a thing?
Hama? Where's Hama at? Where's
See,
Hama?
Hama needed to join the White Lotus so that she couldn't
She does.
go down the dark path as she did.
Well,
you
but
know?
that's but
then
that's
she could
kind
be
of
very
that's
useful.
It's like
But
that. But don't you see that
she's-
parallel with Zhang Zhang and Hama in terms of like this is the
Yeah.
experience I had that caused me to sort of
Right.
warp my perspective so that I'm not,
But no one wants to hang around
necessarily-
Hama.
The power
Hama,
is there.
Ain't no
but
one want to
where's-
hang with Hama. Hama's annoying.
I mean, Hama's a little
kinda.
too far gone.
Hama's like,
She's a little too far
she's
gone.
powerful, but like she's one of them people who are like, I can't.
You don't want to eat my cookies?
I don't have a
I'll
lot of
make
time
you eat my
for
cookies.
Hama.
I'm making your arm reach across the table to eat my chocolate chip cookies that
She's
I
like
baked
that.
for you.
She's like
Just
the
don't hang out
auntie.
with her. Just
Yeah.
one day of the month. Just don't hang out with
She's
her.
that
That's
auntie
the
you
only
can only
time.
hang out with for like I can only take like half hour Hama.
Why
Something
does
like that.
no one wants to visit me during the full moon?
No.
I don't get
Yeah.
it. It's so
Because you're too
rude.
much, Hama. You're
I'm
too
so
much.
Make sure
lonely.
you're like 5 miles away from Hama when there's a full moon.
Yeah.
She needs to let go some of
She
her
can
stuff.
play
She
with
can't let it go.
those. She
can't
can
let
play
go
with
of
those
things.
marionettes
Oh,
on the full moon.
God.
She could just play with the marionettes. that she
Hama's
has
just
tucked into her
weird.
closet.
You got marionettes. I don't want to go to Hama's house. Auntie Hama's house.
It's a
we
little
ain't
bit of
going
a
there.
tell. If you don't want people to know that you can bloodbend, don't keep marionettes in your house. That's like maybe
She's
a
practicing.
clue.
It's
Yeah.
like, next time I know how to get the no.
Exactly. All right, should we talk about some bending evolution with some of the gang?
Let's do it.
Shall
Let's
we
do it.
Why don't we start with Katara?
Water
Let's
bending.
talk about Katara.
Water bending. Okay.
As we understand Katara, she is the lone waterbender left in the,
The
Southern Water,
Tribe.
which kind of creates this early bond, I think, with Katara and Aang. You know, they both have a sense early on of like, this is what it feels like to kind of be isolated. This is what it feels like to not necessarily be able to share what you can do
Right.
or learn about what you can do if you don't have anyone there
Right.
to show you, right?
It's wild things. Even with the episode we did about the Southern Raiders, we're to believe that not only will the Fire Nation go, we're gonna go take out all the airbenders because we don't want
Yeah.
the next Avatar. But then they're like, now that we got that taken care of, let's just take out all the other benders anywhere. Like, let's go to the Water Tribe and take out all the
Yeah.
water benders.
Yeah.
And then we should go to the Earth Kingdom and I guess get rid of those guys also. Is that
Some
the
say that's
concept we're
overkill.
saying?
Some say that's overkill.
Yeah, it's overkill.
Yeah.
We can't build that well without Earth benders.
No.
Yeah.
We need Earth benders.
Yeah.
But they were just taking them out.
Let me ask
Your
you.
father was very short-sighted. In
He
what
was
trying
he
to
was a
do.
bit short-sighted, but listen, sometimes it comes from the top, and
Right.
Sozin was not feeling like he needed to
Sozin
exercise control.
He has issues. But with Katara, we go back to her water bending. I remember first episode, she was She was doing like just a little handful
Yeah.
of water. She could hold a fish in the water.
Mhm.
That's pretty good. But then she goes on to become one of the greatest waterbenders ever.
Yeah.
She becomes one of the goats.
Yeah.
How does she
Well,
get
she's
there?
definitely the goat of the prodigies, because everyone's a prodigy in the series, right? So you have Aang. He was a master of air by the age of 12 when he created the air scooter, right? Then you had Badger Mole, Toph, hanging out with them. And then she was like the top of the Earth Rumble. And then Zuko, he needed some time to like develop. And then you
He's
have Azula,
probably
who's the
not
other.
as good as the rest of the gang. Like you're talking
Right,
about
right.
the goats. Like
Yeah.
Toph
Azula is
created
the
metal
prodigy
bending.
in that sense.
yeah. She has
Yeah,
the blue.
top of
She has
that.
the blue flame.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Katara is the strongest of the prodigies of all of them, because of
Stronger
what we
than
said,
Toph?
well, yeah, in terms of her elevation, right, from going from like 0 to basically like 100 by the end of the series, right?
Yeah.
Because Toph, she had all that time with the Badger Mole, she had all that
Yeah,
time
she
in Earth
got-
Rumble,
she-
she had
she-
all
Great
that time to
point.
hone.
Great
Right.
point.
I'm with you on that.
Katara only had that year. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
she was only doing like little puddles at the beginning, and then like next year, Sozin's comment, it's like, whoa, look at her like doing these big old waves, like
I
tossing
was
fire
kind of
ships
impressed.
away.
Like, how did that happen? How did she go from that much fat? That fat? I mean, she's with Avatar. She's with an Avatar.
Here's my headcanon. Here's
Give
my
it to me.
headcanon,
Give
right?
it to me.
Give us your
it to me.
head
So
headcanon.
in the Southern Water Tribe, there's no other benders, right? It's just Katara. So you can headcanon that like the spirits of like the
The
Water
moon,
Tribe
All
yeah.
all
infuse
like just
themselves
summoning into
her.
Katara. Yeah, just everything needs to go into this one person now because you're the only one who exists now.
Which, by the way, what if she hadn't, because also we talk a lot about, and we can talk about this more, but Katara's emotions and the fact that, everyone's bending is affected by their emotions, and kind
Right.
of understanding and managing your emotions becomes really important. But when you think back to like how Aang came to be free of the iceberg at all, not to mention our dear, dear Appa, like it
She
was
hit it with
because
something
she
just of
had
her.
some emotion. She was having this reaction, and that is what ended up
Right.
freeing the Avatar. I mean, talk about the goat. Like, what if that hadn't
Yeah.
happened?
So
What if
she's
she didn't have it,
stronger. Then she's even tapped in. We know.
Yeah. And that's that
I'm gonna-
it's that early unchecked kind of like, how do you harness this power that even allows
She
us to have an
holds-
Avatar in the first place?
Yeah, she holds the power of all the Southern Water Tribe vendors.
That's
That's what you're saying, Anton. That's what you're saying right
Yeah,
now.
that's what I'm saying. Like all the spirits were like, "Hey, there's like nobody here, so we gotta just put all
Infuse
our
it
eggs in
into
this one
one
basket."
person.
Yeah.
She does get pretty good.
That's what I'm saying. She gets really good really fast, and that's the
I was
only way
like,
you can
what?
explain it.
I will say this too, because I definitely remember thinking I don't have siblings, and but my friends who do talk about, especially like I know you have brothers and you've had this experience where you've worked with your brothers, and a lot of you have done similar
Right.
things, and you're dancers and you're creators and you're writers, and the whole like thing where Katara is really learning how to be a waterbender, and obviously I don't want to get into Aang yet, but like the fact that she's really developing her skills, and she worked so hard having no one at all to
Right.
teach her anything. And then she's with the Avatar, and then Aang's just like, and remember that, that moment where she's like, it took me a really long time to figure this out. And then he does it perfectly right away. And you're like, oh, she doesn't even get to like, she does. But
She does,
in that
but
moment,
yes.
you see that feeling of like, can't I just have this thing? Like, could I just be?
She obviously gets it.
prodigy, like-
She obviously gets it. Just
Yeah.
makes it just maybe just a longer runway
Yeah.
than other people.
Yeah.
Because by like Antoine said, by the end of the year, she's got
She
It all.
has
Yeah,
got
and
it.
it was Paku. I feel like some people need direction. Like I feel like Aang, he's very like intuitive with a lot of the things that he does, except for like Earth, obviously, which we'll get into. But with Katara or certain people, they need an instructor. They need
Yeah.
that, like discipline,
Okay.
that curriculum to really get through.
That's a really good
And
point.
she had Hama for a while too.
Oh, stop it.
Mm. Hey, Hama taught her some useful stuff though.
She did. She did.
Unlocked
I mean,
something.
beyond
Maybe
the
Hama
blood
unlocked
bending.
some stuff. Unlocked some like
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I feel so bad for her. I don't know why I can't. Now I'm like treating Hama like she's Azula for some people. I'm like, I feel
I
bad for
know.
Hama.
I just feel
She
crazy.
went through a lot. She did not get to the place that she got to without the very firm hand and help of being imprisoned. Like,
I know.
none of us know
I
what
get
we would
it.
turn into if we were in prison for that
I
period of time.
mean,
Totally
It's
by
a very
herself.
similar cautionary tale to like
It's a
with Jet,
cautionary.
like we saw in the first book, right?
Perfect
Jet is
example.
like the cautionary tale of what happens
Perfect
when you
example.
let the evils of war seep into you. Same as what we
Yes.
get with Hama. Like this is
Trauma.
what Katara could
Trauma.
have gone. You know.
Trauma.
Yes.
Now, also, Katara had the water scroll.
She had the
waterbending scroll.
waterbending scroll.
That's like one
That
of
was
the
a big get.
only. Yeah, that's one of the only things that we see actual material of, like, instructional
Right.
stuff. And so
Yeah.
she might have also had some OG lost waterbending stuff kind of help unlock her fundamentals.
Yeah.
Got her fundamentals strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as we all know, they stole that waterbending scroll from pirates.
They did.
I like to always tell the audience out there, especially you kids, don't be stealing nothing from pirates. That's not a good lesson. Don't steal
Yeah.
from
They don't
pirates,
get. They don't seem to get it. They don't get
I don't
over
know,
it.
whatever the pirates in your neighborhood, I don't know who they
Oh
are.
my god.
They could be gangsters or what. Don't steal from them. Don't
Yeah.
steal from them.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
Let me ask you guys this: what emotions do you feel serve Katara best? And obviously, we all want the sweet one to just be like, well, obviously love. But do you guys feel that way? Like, do
Well-
you feel that within her emotions, like, what do you think serves her best when she's bending and when she needs to pull it out for something?
I think it's situational. Like I think that's a big lesson that Zuko got too, right? Is that at one point he was just using his anger only, and then he lost his anger, so then he's like, oh, I can't firebend anymore. Then he figured out like the life of fire later on. With Katara, I think it depends on what ability she's using, right? So if she's using healing, then yeah, you got to put like a lot of love into that. But if she's doing some big offensive ability where she's tossing Fire Nation ships, you got to put a little bit of aggression in there. You got to put a little bit more passion into that. So I think it's all relative depending on what bending discipline she's enacting at that time.
I think that makes sense.
He's a master. I know. I think there's flow. There's got a lot of flow. I mean, water is a very.
I mean, yeah, you had to
thing,
flow as a
because
water.
you gotta have flow with it. But then, then she got like Iceman stuff. She could. That's a whole switching it from fluid to like.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
she is from a very cold climate.
She is from the south.
Ice makes a real good go-to.
It's true.
If you grew up in the cold.
So the fact that she could turn the water into ice and she has this very kind of Iceman thing going on, it becomes a very OP power.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
certainly helpful when, she does that with Jet.
Yep.
She does it with a bunch of soldiers.
She just did it when she was
She
She
did
did it
it
with
with
Azula.
Azula.
Zuko.
Zuko.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that water bending into freezing.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is about as close to, am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong. But of all of the other types of bending that we see, that's kind of the closest to blood bending already, because it literally freezes you in place. You cannot
Yeah,
move.
that's that.
Right.
So it's not dissimilar. It's just not, I'm in
It's
your
the
blood.
more humane way of
Exactly.
stopping someone.
It's still external instead of you're my puppet.
Totally. And it's
Yeah.
like earth bending too. It's very similar to earth
Oh,
bending.
true. Earth does that too.
Yeah.
Like with water. I mean, I guess earth can do it too. I mean, earth can lock you
Yeah,
down.
but air and fire can't do it. But I like that about that. There's
Yeah.
always like a balance of abilities. Like, air and fire can't
Yeah,
really
earth
do
can
that. You
lock
can't
you
really
down,
hold someone
too.
in.
I guess that's true. You could definitely be stuck in a spot for sure with Earth.
Yeah. Oh, the handcuffs. They just handcuff you with those earth.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or like the crystals. Like, just get ready. Now you're just living
Yeah, the
inside of a
crystals.
crystal cave.
It's
that
crystal
is a prison.
earth. I
Yeah.
don't know what crystals are. They almost seem, they look like ice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Crystals look like ice. You heard it here first. Are they ice? We'll never know. We'll never know. We're not scientists. Okay, so we've talked about her learning on her own. We've talked about her getting her hands on the waterbending scroll,
Yes.
which was definitely a rebellious move on her part, stealing something. I approve of it, but don't steal from pirates.
No, don't steal from pirates.
We've talked a little about Hama. Got to give it up for the Aqua Arms. Got to give it up for her wicked, awesome Aqua Arms.
That's how she beat Azula. Like, and
that's-
I should
yeah.
preface that a lot of people forget that Azula didn't really lose to a lot of people. She even defeated Aang. She defeated Zuko on several occasions. Katara has 0 losses against Azula. Just gonna
Yeah.
put that out there.
That's really, really true. Oh, that's so good.
Defeat is a
catacombs,
big.
she
Defeat
got- she
is
got-
a strong word for Zuko. Defeat
Zuko
is a
had to
strong
save.
word.
Nah, Zuko had to save her. Zuko had to save her because she had her locked down in the catacombs at the end of book 2. And then it was
Right,
Zuko who
right,
had
right,
split
right,
that
right,
arm.
right,
And
right.
if you didn't, then that was it for Azula. And then, of course, the finale.
Right. I mean,
So, in other words-
siblings. You gotta.
I guess. I was going to say, you could have ended it right there with
Could
her.
have been
She could have
done.
just been done.
Could have been done. And he
But
was
you
having that moment too.
Yeah.
And see, Katara later on throws it in his face about
Yeah.
I trusted you like I thought you. And basically, she's telling her, I thought you were gonna let me kill your sister.
I mean, yeah.
And he didn't be like, hey, yo, that's my sister. You know what I'm saying? He could have like literally said like, hey, yo, that's my sister though. I was just like, you were a little bit hot right there. I think.
Yeah.
But he didn't say that to her.
Yeah.
But he could have said that to her.
Antoine, do you feel like this is outside the
God.
scope of bending? This is outside the scope of bending, but do you feel like what do you think Zuko's final kind of takeaway about Azula is? Like, what are his feelings for her? You know,
Like personally, like as a sister, or
yeah, just like what? Yeah, where does she fit in his head canon? You know what I mean? Like, is he always just like wanting the thing he can never have, which is like a real relationship with this person? Does he just totally give up on her, like emotionally inside, regardless of like his actions as Fire Lord and stuff?
Fire
Like,
Lord.
I think
what
that's
do you
interesting
think his heart
because
is telling
in
him?
in the comics right now, it's kind of more from like Azula's POV of like
Yeah.
how she feels about like, you know, Zuko and her relationship with the royal family and her mother in particular. And it's always seemed like it's been through her. And currently, like in the comics, is what she's been trying to do is to make Zuko stronger by like, you know, pestering him and things like that to make sure like, you know, he's on his game. And making also Azula probably has some plans like I'm gonna take over at some point, you know. But yeah, the way I Zuko's such a good guy, like inherently, like deep down, even though he's been like beat down to be like, no, you've got to be like this tough Fire Lord when you grow up, you know, via Ozai. But I feel like he would always want that relationship with Azula. It's just really difficult to have that relationship when Azula is Azula.
And it's
That.
familiar to a lot of people, I think. And obviously, it's the most extreme
Especially with
version, but like
family.
exactly,
Right.
you have this family member where you're like, if I could just turn this one corner with this person, yes, it would entail them potentially being a totally different person than they are.
It's
but maybe we
hard.
could get there, you know.
Yeah, I think
but it's really hard to let that go. It's so
hard.
understandable.
Reading the comics like this, it's so disturbing. You see her. There's a drawing of her in a straitjacket.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's
I
tough
mean,
to see any family
yeah.
member like, you know,
Yeah.
do that situation, you know, because you know that like there's two different people, right? You have that, you know, version that's like, you know, a little unhinged, but then you know the version like they're like at the beach, like that. I think that
We
was
had a
like,
good
the one
time at the beach. Yeah, at the beach.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That was like
There's
the one
some
time
good
that we actually
times.
saw like a normal interaction when they had the volleyball game, you know, kind of thing. And you're like, oh, like this could be like somewhat of a healthy relationship, you know, like have her
Yeah.
just like get this out in a sport, maybe not, you know,
She
just
wanted
people.
she wanted to see Zuko shine a little bit. You know what I'm saying? She wanted to see her brother shine.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's not all manipulation. Was it all
I
manipulation?
know. And also, that's one of my favorite episodes. It's one of my favorite episodes because she apologizes to Ty Lee. I mean, that to me is it's a small moment,
I was a little
but it is
jealous.
a massive moment.
I didn't mean what I said. Look, maybe I just said it because I was a little jealous. What?
Since when does she say, hey, this is
Ever
on
say
me,
that she's jealous. Woo.
and not only this is my fault, but also I'm admitting to you it was my fault because I had this shameful emotion that none of us like to admit. No one likes to admit they're jealous. So for me, that is huge. So when people ship Tyzula, I'm like, dude,
I'm
I
with that.
get it because I have not seen her treat anyone else like that except for Ty Lee in that moment. So shout out to
out.
Ty Lee for, you know, being the kind of person that
But she is the
Azula's
type of
like, I owe
person,
her
you
an
know, she's always about
apology.
her
Yeah,
chi and like the goodness in someone's chi. So she's
Totally.
gonna bring that out in people, you know.
Totally.
And that chi blocker, she's more powerful
terrifying.
than it's terrifying.
I know.
I mean,
know.
honestly, yeah.
It's true. We're not even talking about. Okay. Back to Katara for a second. So then we have Master Paku, who very reluctantly ends up having to recognize that she's extremely skilled. Has to like overcome the sort of
He's a
cultural
jerk.
norm.
He's a jerk.
of the chauvinism of like
He's a
women
jerk.
don't get to do this.
I
Sorry.
know.
But
Especially
boy,
in the north.
she has to push
Especially in the
hard.
north.
Yeah.
The north, like we don't
Yeah.
play like that in the north.
Yeah.
Which is completely silly because you're
Silly.
like you're cutting your fighting force in half. You have this huge Fire Nation coming your way. It's like, can you use like all of your fighting force here? Like,
Yeah.
come on, like.
Yeah.
Well,
And
you
he's-
kind of understand, yeah. That's where you sort of understand the idea of like when people who've lived with a tradition so long,
Mhm.
it's like the tradition is as much important as like survival itself.
Right.
Like, oh no, we couldn't possibly change things now. It's like,
Right.
well, what about if your very survival is online and it's also a rule that is almost made to be broken? It's like, well, I don't know. What would we have then? What would our society look like? It's like, guess what? You guys are fine.
Yes.
It's fine. Just let the women do some
He
fighting too.
does
It's
get
fine.
to it pretty quickly though. He gets to it by like
Only because of the necklace.
This is my necklace.
No, it's not. It's mine. Give it back.
I made this 60 years ago. For the love of my life. For Kana.
My grand-gran was supposed to marry you?
What would have happened had he not seen the necklace? Tell me.
Man, I think what would have had to have happened is that Aang would be like, hey, I'm just going to learn from him. And then, you know what, when we leave the North, I'm just going to teach you everything that I
Fair
learned
enough.
from that guy.
Fair enough.
And then later on, you could come back and maybe like defeat him or like try and teach him the ladies or whatever. You know?
I like that. I like that. And speaking of Aang, I do love seeing them collaborate, right? Like that's an early collaboration we see because it takes them so long with earthbending, but it's really fun to get to see the two of them work together, whether it's him waterbending with her or him airbending or a little of both. That like dynamic duo. creates some
Waterbending
really
came to
cool
him easy.
scenarios.
Waterbending was easy for
It's not
him.
that. Is it that far away from airbending? Doesn't it kind of make
Yeah, I
sense
feel
to
like
you
it's
guys? that it
closer,
would-
right? There's
yeah.
a little bit more Venn diagram that goes on with those two.
Agree.
Yeah.
Although I must say it right now, Katara would be a fierce firebender. I have no doubt.
Yeah, no, she
right?
definitely would. If you
I have
wrong
no
her,
doubt.
she's definitely a badger. You know, like if very sweet,
Yeah.
but you mess with her young, you mess with her
Don't
family.
mess with her family. Yeah, don't mess
You're
with her
done.
family.
Yeah,
Don't mess with her friends.
yeah.
You're going down.
She has a dark side for sure.
I mean,
Dark side.
Yeah.
Zuko saw it, you know, when he came to, hey, hello, Zuko here. And then she's
Yeah.
like, I don't care if everybody else has forgiven you. Like, if you slip up
Yeah.
once,
She was salty for
Yeah.
sure.
But also, she's this extraordinary
There might be some
fighter.
deep down feelings for Zuko too that made her extra salty.
I'm
I'm
sure
just
that's
talking
what it
about.
is.
I mean, I'm also,
Antoine, I don't know.
You know,
I mean, we don't know. It's just,
I'm a
just
Zutara person as
theory.
well.
Just a theory.
Uh-oh.
I know that's gonna create a lot of,
foreshadow
you know,
report. Foreshadow report. All
I'm
right.
just saying, I don't know. I don't
We
know.
got a ship. The ship snuck out. We were going to save that one, but it snuck out.
that's
You're so
right, that's
passionate about Zutara. It snuck out. I get it. That's a Zutara shipper right there. It's going to come out early. You're going to bring your
No,
queen
but
out
I'm not
early
here.
in the chess
I'm not
game.
actually a Zutara shipper in the sense I think that they're in game because there's like tiers to like the way you ships, right?
Got it.
I think they are a summer fling. Like I think that they can
Got
learn
it.
something from each other and take that to their other relationships, but I don't think that they are like the end all be all for each other.
I have to say I love that, but how does that make you feel? Can you argue with that? I don't think you can.
Summer fling?
You want a couple years minimum?
Like, how about like a long term in there? How about long term?
I don't know. Makes sense. I mean, makes sense. Makes sense.
It's a good
No,
argument.
They just have a thing where they learn some stuff from each other, but then they take that to their
Yeah.
relationships with May and with
Yep.
Aang. You know?
Yep.
Right.
I like it. I like it. But she's also an amazing healer. Let's not. I mean, we obviously we know that she was kind of pushed in that direction from Paku, and so you could see a scenario in which you're like, I'm so annoyed that you're telling me this is all I can do that I don't even want to get good at this now because that's what Dad wanted me to do, or that's what Paku wanted me to do, or whatever. And not saying her dad wanted to, but I'm saying like for those of us who are like, my parent really wanted to push me into this thing and it made me want to do it less. Like
Right.
you could sort of see that how she
That
could
was
be
baseball for me. You know?
like, right? There you go.
Yeah,
so you
so-
can see how she would be like, I don't want to play baseball. Like, I'm not going to get good at baseball. But
Right.
she is this amazing healer. And here she,
Which is amazing.
you know, even from like when she pulls the water out of Aang's lungs when he's riding the Unagi, which is really early on, like intuitive healing, you know.
That's an
and-
amazing thing too, by the way. Like you have to watch out
100%.
for like pulling out like vital blood vessels or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have to separate
Make
that. Like
sure
if you really think about
you're
like the actual
taking
ability,
the
it's
right
like
water out.
yes, like make sure you're
Like,
like,
oh no,
water,
I
not-
put all your blood out of your body accidentally. Oh no.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
don't bring up like
no.
the insides of his
I wasn't
stomach or
trying to
something
get
like that.
all the
you know?
blood out.
Yeah.
Just the bad
And she
blood.
couldn't see what she was doing. It's not like a thing, you know, usually she
mm-mm.
can see the water. In this case, she's like, you're right. You're so right, Antoine. Like to be able to intuitively be like, I'm going to pull the water in his lungs that doesn't need to be there. I'm going to pull that out and I'm going to save them. And then, you know, she saves not just him, but she's healing people all over the
Healing's
place.
just
Thank
as
goodness.
phenomenal as any other power. Even more so at times when you need healing. When you know.
Yeah.
You know what? It's something that like, yeah, why kill off the waterbenders, Fire Nation, when you can just use them or conscript them, maybe indoctrinate them to be your healers instead. You know what
Evil.
I mean? Like that seems to be a little bit smarter
Too much
of a
power,
plan, you know?
Antoine.
Because
They have too much
they
power.
know
No,
that
but
they'll-
Azula was smart. Here's
they'll
why.
rise
But
up.
Azula was smart. She actually used the Dai Li to her own benefit, right? Even when they came to her on Black Day of Black Sun.
She's
I'm gonna
very,
use you and you're
very
gonna defend me
shrewd.
on the day of Black
I'm
Sun.
overhearing how
She's
smart
very
she
shrewd.
is.
I mean, you could, if you were going to teach a class on
She was born lucky.
Planning,
She was born lucky.
manipulation, design. No, like she's very shrewd. She knows how to work a room. She knows how to get in on the
Yeah.
ground floor on
True.
stuff. Like she's
True.
very, very good at it. All right.
But those people can turn against you if you leverage it too much, as we've seen on the show.
Sure.
You're too smart, huh, Azula? Too smart. You outsmarted yourself.
What were you saying, Antoine?
I was like, Azula's like a Michael Jordan or like LeBron James, right? Where they have innate talent, but then if you actually work on that as well, you become like this crazy, one in a lifetime generational talent, and that's Azula.
Or you can become something else.
Or you
Or
could
you
be
could
a
become
Kobe
something-
Bryant. You could be like a Zuko, be
Kobe's
a Kobe
great.
Bryant.
Kobe's
like,
great. Yeah.
All right. I want to take a quick break because we need to ask you. We now have the slip of the ship, but
Oh yes.
of a partial ship. Who's your endgame ship?
Well, I mean, my favorite ship in the show, there's two. One would be Bolin and Opal
Yeah.
from Legend of Korra. I think they are like the best couple
So
in the
well
entire
matched.
franchise.
Couldn't agree more.
With a very close second, maybe even sometimes they're first. And it's because I always love, any chance I get, everybody read the Kiyoshi novels, please. They are so
Yes.
good. Read the Kiyoshi novels.
Please
Because
say
Kiyoshi
Rangi.
and Rangi, yes,
Yes.
are
Yes.
low key, they might be the best couple,
Oh,
actually. I think
love
in the
them
entire
so much.
franchise, but they
I
don't have as
love
much
Rangi so
time as
much.
like Bolin and Opal did. But
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. Like they're romance is done pretty well. I feel like in those
I'm-
movies.
Couldn't
Those
be
Kiyoshi
more
books
on
are so
board.
heavy. They're so
Couldn't
good.
be more on board. Could not
Man.
be more on board. All right. So we'll save the hybrids for after we talk about a certain earthbender.
Ooh.
We're talking about Toph. We know
She's great.
we talked a little bit about her and her start with the Badger moles. We know that she was born to those wealthy, overprotective parents.
Right.
She's blind, so they're maybe extra hands-on. They're very worried about her, and she's like, I gotta peace out. This is too much.
I know.
Even at 6 years old, I gotta go. Like,
She's
give me a break.
gone.
And she meets those Badger moles, and yes, it's this ability to defend herself and to attack, but it's also this extension of her senses, right? I
Right.
mean, that's how her seismic sense gets developed. It's extraordinary.
She's the goat. I mean, she's already probably a prodigy as a child, and
Mhm.
then she spends an extensive amount of time with the source of earthbending. Like, imagine if Zuko, as a young child, just hung out with the dragons for like a while to really.
Yeah.
He had a moment with them to understand, and
Yeah.
she spent. I don't know what the time lapse was, but it was a lot of time,
I mean,
in
from
those-
6 to 12, 6 years at least, possibly with the Badger moles. Who
Yeah.
knows?
which is wild.
It's a
That's
great
why she-
point.
Yeah, it's
you know?
wild.
That's a great point. Oh, now I want to see Zuko hang out with the dragons a little bit more.
He had
That's such
an
a sweet
afternoon. He had
story.
an afternoon.
He eventually gets Druck, so that's a storyline
Yeah,
that we
that's a good
maybe.
point.
He gets drunk. Yeah, he eventually
I
gets drunk.
mean,
That's a good
Avatar
point. That's a
Studios.
really
can we
good point.
can we see that happen? Possibly.
Let's
like,
make
see
it
the
happen,
introduction of how he found
please.
his
That
dragon.
would be very satisfying. Okay, so so here we have this person who, she's got these skills, she's got these abilities, but what do you do with them if you are in the situation that she's in? Easy. You become a wrestler.
Yes, exactly.
You're incognito. You're the blind bandit. Huge plot point that people love. What are your thoughts on the blind bandit and all the
I
wrestling?
really, really like Toph. In particular, because even some people forget that she, during this entire time that she's in the Earth Rumble, learning from the Badger moles, she's still getting fundamental training from like a proper, Sifu. In the I forget the gentleman's name, the one who her father basically said,
That's
she's
right.
only doing basic
Yeah.
exercises. She's
We'll
basic
just have
breathing,
this- Mhm.
which is good because while she's doing like this advanced stuff in the Earth Rumble, she's still getting the foundation of, so in a way, like, I mean, we don't know this extent, like for verbatim, if that's actually like the canon or whatever like that. But in my head canon, I like to think that her dual training of the basics and also her advancements made her a very balanced earthbender.
Which I love that. And also, to your point, like, that's a lot to straddle. That we often see in storytelling and also in real life this idea of like, no, you have your instructor. Don't break off and have two instructors. That's just going to mess up your technique. Someone's going to want you to unlearn something while someone else wants you to learn. And for her to keep all of that in her head and not give herself away is amazing. So good. But we do see her bending evolve, and we see in a very, very big way.
Yes.
We start to see it. We see when it flags. We see her kind of vulnerability in the sand. We have that heartbreaking moment in the library where she's, she wants to save her friend. She wants to keep the library from being buried in sand. And she also is trying to help Appa, and she has to make this terrible choice that I would not wish on my worst enemy. Like, how do you even make that choice? And we all know
Bye,
what happens
Appa.
with
See you
that.
later. Bye.
Oh my God, dang.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her, but I don't love it.
The gang's
I don't
and
blame
going
her.
underwater. They're going under the
I
sand.
know. I would have made the same
Appa
choice.
is above sand. And from some people
I gotta be honest with you.
who we think, we're the gang, so we could probably find you guys and get you guys later on. These guys are getting under sand.
Everything you're saying makes sense. I'm realizing in this moment, I'm not proud of this. I don't know if I would have made that decision. I might have been like,
You might have saved
sure
Appa.
Aang and
You're
Katara
like,
Aang
figure
can save him.
something
He's gonna be
out.
Avatar State,
I'm
you know?
such
I'll
a
be
sucker
like-
for Appa.
Appa, keep your head up. Catch you later. Keep your head up.
Don't let him get you down,
Don't let
Appa.
him get you down, Appa. We're going to come
We'll
get
see you soon. Oh my God.
Well, the
yeah.
great thing about that scene too is that she struggled right with the sand. Like she was trying to get the sand to go around her ankles to keep her solid, and she failed. Right, that was her. She's like, I didn't know how to deal with this. This is the sand doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And then later on, we see in book 3, in the it wasn't the beach episode. It was when it was when Zuko was part of the team. And you see her make this sandcastle, this very intricate, sandcastle, and you're like, oh, well, she figured it out. She just needed a few months to figure out.
She said,
sand.
I'm going to master this because I'm never going to let
Yes,
that
because I
happen
sucked
again.
at this one point, and
Yeah.
that's
Right.
very tough. Very tough.
But it's also good because I think, look, we know that her experience with the Badger Moles was what it was, and they are the original masters. We know why she sort of has maybe not the best social skills of everyone in the gang. We know why. We accept that. But there are moments where we feel Katara's impatience, right, and her frustration. This is someone who may not do anything other than utter a sassy remark.
We can take them 3 on 3.
Actually, Toph, there's 4 of us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't count you. No bending and all. I can still fight! Okay, 3 on 3 plus Sokka.
I think that ends up coming off as maybe some hubris, maybe some arrogance, and I think it's important for her to have those moments where she owes someone an apology, or she sees where her weaknesses are. And it doesn't mean that she's not dedicated to fixing them, but does that also make her a better teacher when it comes time for her to teach Aang? Because she has she's connecting back to that Badger Mole strength and that OG thing where it's not just okay, Twinkle Toes, you do it or you don't do it, but that's it. She has to be able to connect to how other people perceive bending and find ways of getting through to him.
She has to get that because she's a kind of a child that's rich, that's kind of not had a lot of friends, but she's also been the best bender than everyone she's ever met ever.
Yeah.
Since she can't remember being around anyone that was even as good as her ever.
Yeah.
So all these other people are learning how to do stuff, and she's like, "No, I've been doing this since
She's
I was 3 years old."
yawn.
4.
Yeah.
And
6
she did it
years
on her
old.
own. So she's like, get it. I did this on my own.
Yeah,
you should
could
too.
you imagine? You're just so good. You're in a time where there's people, there's famous people, there's all this. When people are number 1 in the world at something, there's a certain bit of, I don't know if it's ego. There's a gravity, a gravitas to what they bring into the room, and then you're like, deservedly so. I guess you're the top of the mountain.
Yeah. It could be dangerous. It can be dangerous.
And that seems to be a personality trait across all Earthbenders, that they're very ego-centric in a way. Because Boomy also, makes the same proclamation that he's the most powerful Earthbender in the world. And eventually we see that, in the comics where they get to go head to head.
I mean, it's got to feel good to be an Earthbender. And don't tell us what kind of bender you're going to be. I challenge you.
No, don't worry. I'll let you know later.
But I am really excited because I have some theories and I do not know how they're going to pan out. So, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely the experience of earthbending seems to me, even to me more so than fire, it does seem like it would be the experience where I'd be like, I guess I'm pretty powerful.
You can feel
very
pretty powerful
easily be
with
like,
that,
I'm literally moving mountains. I guess
we
I'm
live
pretty
on
cool.
Earth,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be bending all of this Earth.
Yeah.
That's
well,
crazy.
and also, if you want to live a long life, we'll go back to the Kyoshi novels. You can learn from Lao Ge, and you can realize that you can, extend your life through earthbending, in a very obscure ability.
That's a really good point. Absolutely. Okay, so we see her obviously be. I feel dumb even picking like certain things in which she is, incredibly important to getting through situations. Obviously, we have stuff like the drill, but I feel dumb doing it because it's like, how about like every episode that Toph is in, there's like usually something that's like, well, I'm glad she was there. Otherwise, I have no idea what would have happened. So it's not just the drill. We know what happened with the library. We talked about that. But then we get to this point where shortly after we have, this incredible face-off with this very terrifying tool that can drill through giant city walls. She gets captured. She gets put in metal. We all know what happens.
Right.
It's huge.
She creates metal bending.
Antoine, how much do you love that moment? And how key is it in the entirety of the canon of Avatar, that metal bending moment?
The reason why I love it so much is because while the name is metal bending, it's not actually bending the actual metal. What you're bending is the unrefined earth within metal. So you have to be an extreme prodigy like Toph, like a Katara, right? You have to know the minute details of your own element to be able to determine that, to be like, oh wait, hold on, this metal has little earth pieces. I'm strong enough to be able to manipulate these small little earth pieces within the metal to then morph the metal, around it. That is a lot of skill. Like that is an extreme, extreme level of skill to be able to take it down to like the atom level, to be able to manipulate that. And that's the reason why later Legend of Korra, you see a lot of platinum use because it's a refined metal, and that's the reason why you cannot bend it. But just the fact that you're able to do, like Toph was able to do that without, again, it seems like she learns when she is met with adversity, with the library, with the sand. She's like, I didn't know how to do this. Gotta learn it right now. I'm stuck right now. I gotta figure out a solution. Because you're put your backs against the wall, you learn new abilities like this. And that's amazing.
I love that you said that because I wish I had been more like that as a kid. Like I look at people like that who are in a corner, and I was not by any stretch of the imagination a spoiled child at all, but I was so sensitive and so ready to listen to people when they were like, you're not good at this. And I was so the kid that was like, you're right, I should go. Instead of being like, let me go ahead and prove you wrong. And I just want everyone to like know that you can make that decision. Because when you're young, it doesn't feel like a choice. I think when you're young, you sort of either have that in you because it's been fed into you by your family or your friends, or you're born with it, or whatever that is. The next time someone tells you can't do something, before you just accept that, like
challenge it a little bit.
Allow for the possibility that like, do I even, and also like, do I want that to be true? You know what?
Right.
I don't want that to be true. And that's one of the things I love about Toph. I
and
love
sometimes
that you brought that up,
ego.
Antoine.
That's the benefit of having ego, right?
Yeah.
Is in situations like that. Because sometimes you hear ego and like it always has a negative connotation, but no, like there's some good connotations to ego as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely
Sometimes,
right. Balance.
you telling me I can't do it because you can't do it.
There you go. That sounds like Toph for sure. All day. All right, before we get into Zuko, I do want to know what some of your favorite hybrid animals are, Antoine.
Oh, it's got to be the lion turtle. I'm going to go way, way back. I'm going to go to the original
lion
primordial creatures, especially the way they were expanded in Korra. I really, especially because they have this very folklory, mythological sense to them. They are a literal Deus Ex Machina, which I know that's like a critique that some people have for like the end, but I actually like that because it makes it feel more fable-like. Because that's in stories of old, like the great Greek tales and things like that. That's literally what would happen. You would have the god tier thing come and be like, hey, let me help you and give you this power so you can defeat whatever evil you're trying to defeat on this earthly plane. And that's what they did originally. Like they gave bending to other benders. So I always have like the lion turtles like quite a bit.
I love that.
Lion turtle.
I absolutely love that. Everything you said is on point.
I mean, that's pretty good. I like the turtle duck, but maybe not part.
You like the turtle part of the turtle duck.
Yeah.
He likes the turtle part of the lion turtle.
There
It's
you
all
go.
the same.
See, there you go.
It's all the same. It's definitely a different, the level of reverence for the lion turtle is like beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. All right, let's talk Zuko for a sec.
All right, what are we talking about?
I am not saying he wasn't always a great firebender. He absolutely was. But his motivations changed.
Of course. I think obviously by the time book 3 happened and he met the firebending masters and did the dragon dance, and when he understood, like I think we all understood, it really sublimated a lot of his energy and his path and his bending specifically.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But he was quite gifted as a young
No, he
Fire
was.
bender.
I'm actually glad that you say that he was gifted as a young bender because he already had the ability. He just needed more time, for the development. He was normal. He wasn't a prodigy like Azula. You're comparing him to Azula. And I like to think because what we learned from the Lost Adventure comics is that he was trained by Piandao, who later would train Sokka. And I like to think that he did that as an exercise to create discipline in himself for his firebending, right? Maybe he was struggling. It could have been right after he had that demonstration in front of Azulan. At one point, in the middle of there, he's like, I should go train with like Piandao as like a way to create this discipline that he can then equate to his firebending, which we see in book 2, the Zuko Alone
He's
episode.
disciplined. We have
Where he
episodes
uses
of
both,
him.
Yeah.
He's on the boat just training by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Book 1, you're like, oh, my guy's out there on the boat doing his stuff. He's focused. He's focused. He's telling his uncle, I'm training. He hasn't even found an avatar yet. I'm just training for when I meet this dude. Every day he's doing his thing. We saw that. I've seen it. I clocked it for Zuko.
This is why I like Zuko, man. I like someone who struggles. Like, it's nice to have like these prodigies who are like just naturally good and gifted, but I always prefer like the one who is like the less than and it has to get a little bit better.
Yes, less than,
and really and really get in there so that you can be content with that top tier.
Yeah, to earn his stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Earn.
Well, and having the influence of Iroh, all along the way, even as he is sort of expressing him.
He was a nuisance. He was a nuisance at times, that Uncle Iroh. Grow to love him.
How dare you? How dare you?
He taught you to break the root.
Of
He
course,
taught
no,
you to
I love
break
Uncle
that
Iroh. Uncle Iroh's the
root.
best. But I'm just saying, early in the game, he was a nuisance. He was bothering me, Uncle Iroh. Stop it.
But to know what Iroh knew and to have that sense like this whole time, when he finally has a conversation with Zuko and you realize like, wait a minute, Iroh has had this information from day one.
I know, like,
he's like,
have me go
you
to
know
the
what I mean?
dragons?
Yeah, like my grandfather is who? My what?
This is the thing.
I come from where?
Families have a lot of secrets that we
This is
think as
true.
secrets. We're just not ready to get them as children to understand the lineage of all of our families are intricate. All of our families have weird ties to each other, and you just don't get it at 12 or 10. You're not ready.
Yeah.
Later on, we find later as adults, oh, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it's just all of us. And you see in this
Yeah.
story, we all have these incredible things that our family has gone through to get to where they are today.
Yeah.
We just get them at the time when we need to get them.
And that Iroh all along the way is like, I can't push too hard because there will come a time where he is going to have to make these choices on his own.
Yep,
And
on
in
his
fact,
own.
the
Yep.
most critical time will be taking place on his own. Is like, what a profound thing to anticipate and to like, ugh.
I was sad because I was afraid you lost your way. I did lose my way. But you found it again. And you did it by yourself. And I'm so happy you found your way here.
And that's why Iroh allowed the breakup. He was like, okay, yeah, like go your own way. I know at some point this needed to happen. You need to leave the nest
Yeah.
and figure it out on your own.
Glad I taught you about redirecting lightning.
Yeah.
Love it.
Glad I snuck that in. Glad I tucked that in before we parted ways. for a bit.
Problems with a lot of teachers and parents and elders is they don't let go.
That's a great point.
Mhm. No,
You know
it's
what I'm
very
saying?
true. And that's
That's a
why
great
Iroh is
point.
Iroh, man. Like, dude,
Oh,
that's
exactly.
so wise.
Exactly. Yeah, his conflict, the way his bending shifts, that moment, I'm glad that it only lives for an episode where we see that he's made the right decision and he's trying to teach Aang and he's like, this doesn't usually happen to me. This is embarrassing. I'm glad that we don't have to live in that space very long.
I
'cause
know.
He's already gone through so
We've
much.
all had a moment. We've all had moments where we're just not feeling it. Today it's not really
Yeah.
our day.
You're like, oh,
It happens
no,
to the best of
buddy.
them.
I'm
To the
glad
best
they
of 'em,
make
yep.
it. Yeah.
It happens to the best of them.
I'm glad they make it to those dragons when they do. I just didn't need that. Did not need that. All right. I can't believe that. I knew this was going to happen. I knew we needed like 8 episodes to talk about this with you, Antoine, but of course we don't have those. So
Yeah.
we're gonna move through to, we got to talk about the Avatar. I can't believe we're at that point. However,
Let's go.
before we do, we know your ships, we know your hybrid animals. But there's one more thing we need to know.
Yeah. In the Avatar verse, Antoine, if you were a bender, what kind of bender would you be?
As Bruce Lee would say,
Be water.
be water, my friends.
Be water.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yep.
That was my
yeah.
theory. That was my theory.
Okay.
I love the flow of water. You ebb and flow. It's very similar to like the Bruce Lee quote. Like when you're water, you become the cup. You become whatever it is. You can mold into any different situation.
Right.
So yeah, it's gotta be
That's
water.
cool.
For me,
That's cool.
He's
And I
always,
think I would
this-
mix it.
You
I
know,
would
this one's
mix it.
always ready for a
Oh, let me
firebender.
go.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that a
no,
cup?
I knew that was
Is that a
definitely- I knew
cup?
that's what he was anticipating. I was like,
Let
no,
me
I've always
turn
been
that
water.
cup to
And
ash.
my
It's no
secondary,
longer
my
a cup.
secondary would be air.
Yeah, that's what I
Air's
was
cool, too.
waffling
Air's
between
cool.
air and water. But then as we were talking about it, I was like, I bet he's gonna be water.
Water.
And then fire is my 3, and then
Okay.
earthbending is my 4th.
Well, I'm
All
so
right, Earth
happy
is your
to be above the
fourth.
earth.
Have you ranked your like
Yeah,
where
you-
No.
those
what's your
things
rank?
live beyond fire? You
I don't think-
you start at fire
Earth.
and you
Earth.
finish
I
at
think
fire.
earth and fire are pretty high. There's a lot of earth in me for sure.
I see that.
Oh,
see
lava bender over here. Okay.
Water. Probably water. I mean, I'm all. I don't know. I look. I haven't really given enough thought. I can see pieces of it all in me
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear Dante's trying to say he's the Avatar. That's what he's saying.
I'm not the
He's
avatar.
tucking that in.
No.
They all
just
speak
got-
to me, They all speak to me.
It's
Slip
all
that right in.
spectrum. It's all spectrum.
It's all a spectrum. It's all a spectrum. All right. I can't believe we have to race through Aang. Luckily, we've been following Aang's journey very closely in the show, so we all kind of know.
Yeah, we
where
know it.
we know his history. We know how and also we covered a lot of it while we were
More
talking
than
about
most.
everybody else.
More than
talked
most, we know
about-
Aang. We
We
know
talked
those.
about the air scooter. We talked about the disappearance. We talked about his
His
bond
early
with
water bending.
Katara.
He
his
just got
early
it,
water
Yeah.
bending. How intuitive it was for himself. We know what happened when he first started trying to learn firebending before it was
Yeah.
time, because we talked about our underrated let's see more of Zhang Zhang moments.
Yeah.
And that he swears firebending off because he doesn't want to hurt anybody, which is so
Especially not
adorable.
Katara.
Definitely doesn't want to be burning Katara's hands. Luckily, she heals them. But
She's a healer, dude.
yeah.
She's fine.
And then here we are, we're sort of like in a groove where we're like, woo, Aang's like already awesome at airbending, like he's very good at waterbending, and then
And even
boom,
fire, we
he
saw.
bumps
He had
up,
a-
and even fire,
He
we know.
picked it up pretty quickly. Yeah.
Great point. And then we run into the wall of earth that is earthbending.
Ooh, the opposite of air.
Bitter work.
Oh.
Bitter work, my friends. It's hard. And that's not necessarily for me, like seeing the series the first time, looking way back, like I was surprised by that. Like in my mind, I think I was very ready for him to
Right.
just be awesome at earthbending
Mhm.
also. And I was like, why is this so hard for him?
I mean,
Like,
that
I
first
did
lesson
think that
was
the first time around.
It was that first lesson where the Toph was like, "All right, well, this boulder is coming at you. You need to stay in front of it in your horse stance and stop
Yeah.
it." And he's like, "Wait, no, that's the complete opposite of what I think about.
Totally.
when I bend."
I like to zip away. I like to zing around. I like
yeah.
to, yeah. It's
Path
hard.
of least
It's
resistance.
hard.
That's what I
Totally.
know.
Totally.
I mean, it's bitter work. Bitter
It's
work.
bitter
It's bitter work.
work.
It all comes down to bitter work, and we found out how much that rings true to Brian.
Yes,
you know how
indeed.
bitter work is like how parts of his life and art and how he thinks about it.
Sure.
and so it makes complete sense that that when Aang has to go through that, that task, it's gonna be rough, buddy.
Oh,
You
he
know?
pulls it out. He pulls it out, and but of
I-
course, like, oh, what were you
No, I was
saying?
gonna say the rough buddy. I saw you with the rough buddy.
He does.
That's rough
Oh,
buddy.
we see you. We try to squeeze that in.
Yeah, I
every
know.
other
I heard
episode.
it.
It's
I
not
heard
every
it.
episode. We didn't give it. It's just due.
That's rough, buddy.
I will say also, in the midst of all the earthbending stuff, he's also trying to clear his chakras, chakras, I now know to say, chakras. And, here he's breaking with the Avatar state because he wants to help Katara. So there is a lot happening in and around the earthbending. And so the fact that he pulls it out and is so awesome and is ready to then move on and must move on to firebending
Right.
and to learn from Zuko is a total win. We've talked about his firebending. We've talked about Zhang Zhang. We've talked about Katara. We've talked about the bond between the two of them as they learn the dragon dance and how important it is. So let's assume that we all kind of know his firebending journey. But then here we have these moments, and this is a real foreshadow report. But when he is facing, and we know that Zuko has foreseen this being a problem because we know that he sees Aang as this pacifist. It's like, yes, I see you. You do not want to hurt people. And then he has to face Ozai. Where does he pull? Is he going to pull out fire to fight fire? Is he going to end Ozai? And with all of his and his connection to the Avatar state has so typically been this kind of violent, out of control, like this is where the rage comes from. This is where it's that id, where so much of Aang is super ego, and he's so good at like staying positive and being a pacifist, and then he'll go into the Avatar state, and it's like, not only will it be all of my resentment and rage at the fact that you killed my people, and I don't have anyone, all my family is newfound family, because aside from Boomy, I don't have really anyone from when I was a kid, and then it's like, and by the way, all of the rage of all of any past Avatar who was ever wronged.
Yeah,
and pull
you
that
have
out.
Kyoshi, not that far back in the past life, so I'm sure she's over there
ready
like
to go. She's
taking
ready to
the
go.
wheel.
She's moving both feet like a boxer, ready. Like, what's
Right.
next? And then we know where it's going. It's a foreshadow report, obviously, but to be able to do all that and to call on the avatars and then to make the decision he makes, we all know that if he wanted to go into the avatar state and make fire the thing that ends all things with Ozai, I'm sure he could have.
Yeah.
Yet that is not the direction it goes.
I mean,
That's
it's a beautiful
sweet.
image, right? Because it really shows
Oh.
him mastering because the idea of mastering the Avatar state is mastering those hundreds and hundreds of voices in your head, right? It's about having your own agency with that. In the we saw the verbal conversations he has, stuff like that, but like that in that moment, it's so powerful because it's Aang taking over and making that decision for himself, not his ancestors, basically.
That's such a good point. It's like, okay, now you work for me. That sounds wrong, but it is a little bit like, all right, we've done this. Now I'm going to tell you what I need to bring as the current Avatar. I love that. I love that you brought that up, Antoine. We could talk to you for a million years. I'm so sorry
it's
that
easy.
we ran out of
Totally.
time.
Talk to me about
This
Avatar. I keep
was
going.
awesome. You're coming back. We have so much to talk about. We're bringing you back. Thank you so much for taking this journey with us. Will you please tell people where they can find you, how they can support you, all that good stuff?
Oh, yes.
Please.
You can find me on AntoineBandele.com. You go there, you'll find all my socials, including my YouTube channel and everything else like Instagram, Twitter. I call it Twitter, and everything else.
Own it.
Yeah,
Own it.
own
I'm
the
good
Twitter.
with it. Fantastic. All right, everybody.
Thank you, Antoine, man.
Thanks, everyone.
Did you know you can hear bonus episodes of our award-winning podcasts?
Subscribe to Avatar Braving the Elements Premium on Apple Podcasts for early access, exclusive content, and ad-free episodes.
I'm so excited!